Imagine this. You are walking through London in the 1850s. The air is thick with coal smoke and drizzle, and you stop at a shop window and see a photograph, a face so lifelike you almost expect them to blink. Then you read the caption, "Our beloved Elizabeth, age 7, gone." That is when you realize this isn't a photo of the living, it's a photo of the dead, and it was completely normal. Welcome to the world when death was photographed. Victorian post-mortem photography, where families photographed their loved ones one last time. In Victorian times, roughly 1830s to early 1900s, death was a part of everyday life. 1 in 5 children died before their 5th birthday. Diseases like cholera and tuberculosis killed thousands. Losing someone you loved wasn't unusual, it was expected. But just as these deaths were happenings, suddenly something revolutionary happened. Photography was invented. In 1839, the daguerreotype arrived, the first affordable way to capture someone's image. Before this, only rich people could afford painted portraits. But now, ordinary families too could preserve a face forever. And for the grieving Victorians, this wasn't creepy, it was a gift. Victorians used to call these portraits the last sleep. A child might be photographed tucked in bed, holding a flower. A mother might be seated in a chair, dressed in her best clothes, surrounded by family. To us, these images look unsettling and sometimes might creepy, but to the people who commissioned them, they were acts of pure love. As one historical journal explains, Victorians believed death didn't erase who you were, it just changed you. A post-mortem photo was proof. You existed. You mattered. You won't be forgotten. Now let's step inside a Victorian photography studio to truly understand the strange beauty of these portraits. Image a room that is dark, draped with heavy curtains. The air smells like chemicals. A large wooden camera sits on a tripod in the center. The photographer prepares his equipment. Then the family arrives, carrying their loved one's body. The deceased would be washed, dressed, and carefully posed. Sometimes they were photographed at home, other times at the studio. Metal stands hidden behind the body helped keep them upright or seated naturally. Photographers even painted eyes onto closed eyelids in some prints to make the person look more alive. And here's the ironic part. Dead subjects were actually easier to photograph. Early cameras needed people to stay perfectly still for several minutes. The deceased didn't move, making them ideal subjects in a weird, sad way. The result? Photos that blurred the line between life and death. Is that child sleeping? Is that man just resting? This wasn't an accident. It was comfort. It let families imagine death as a pause, not an ending. Also, all of these photos taken are filled with symbols. A flower's but it meant something specific. Roses for purity, lilies for innocence, ivy for eternal love. The toys ma toy appeared in children's portraits, dolls, rattles, favorite blankets. Religious items, like Bibles or rosaries rested in adults' hands. Sometimes the living posed with the dead, a mother holding her infant one last time, siblings gathered around a brother or sister. This wasn't taboo. Photography studios openly advertised mourning portraits. Victorians wore black mourning clothes, created memorial jewelry from hair, and sent black bordered letters. Grief wasn't hidden, it was displayed. Even Queen Victoria had post-mortem photos taken of Prince Albert and wore black for 40 years after his death. And here's a common myth. You can always tell when someone's dead in a Victorian photo. And that simply is not true. Many creepy Victorian death photos online are actually just regular portraits of living people. Long exposures made everyone look stiff and serious. Modern viewers just misread them. Real post-mortem photos usually show specific clues. People lying down, closed eyes, mourning fabrics, flowers arranged just so. But why are we so fascinated by these images today? Maybe because they force us to confront what we usually avoid. Victorians couldn't ignore death. It was everywhere, so instead of looking away, they looked directly at it. They tried to find beauty in tragedy, to make the unbearable somehow bearable. By the early 1900s, post-mortem photography disappeared. Why? Cameras got better. Photography became cheap and accessible. People took dozens of photos throughout life. Birthdays, weddings, vacations. You no longer needed death to provide the first and only picture. Death moved indoors. Hospitals and funeral homes took over. The intimate rituals that once happened at home moved to sterile institutions. Death became private, professional, hidden. By the 1920s, the practice felt uncomfortable. We stopped photographing the dead and focused on capturing the living instead. And here's what it means for us today. In 2025, death is invisible. We sanitize it, outsource it, avoid talking about it. Victorians did the opposite. They made it visible. The Latin phrase, memento mori, means remember you must die. Victorians embraced this idea. Remembering death helped them value life. Post-mortem photography wasn't about horror. It was about hope. Hope that memory could outlast death, that love could survive in image form. As one Victorian mourner wrote, to look upon his likeness brings comfort. In that still face I see not death but rest. That's why these photos mattered then, and why they still matter now. And here's the bigger picture. Think about it. Every photo we take today is a small rebellion against time. Every selfie, every portrait, every framed picture is us trying to hold on to something fleeting. The Victorians just acknowledged what we often forget. Every photograph eventually becomes a memorial. When you look at these old portraits, the faded faces, the delicate clothing, the handwritten captions, don't see ghosts. See a love. See grief made visible. See people desperately trying to say, you are gone, but you are not forgotten. Thanks for watching. If this changed how you see these images, hit like and share this video. Drop a comment. What do these Victorian photos say about how we handle loss today? And remember, every time we take a photo, we're asking the same question they did. Cameras got better. Photography became cheap and accessible. People took dozens of photos throughout life. Birthdays, weddings, vacations. You no longer needed death to provide the first and only picture.